contracts can often seem intimidating. The following look at the NAA FAA apartment lease contract by section is intended to help you better understand your rights and obligations under the lease. Please note that this summary of lease contract highlights does not take the place of your carefully reading the lease. There are important items that are not covered here in great detail. Be sure that you read and understand the lease before signing. Also remember that this overview of the lease is only intended as a general explanation of key lease provisions and should not be considered as legal advice or as a substitute for consulting an attorney. Now we're going to take you through each paragraph in the lease by section. Let's get started. The first section of the lease covers moving in and general information. Paragraph 1, Parties. This paragraph includes the names of all parties to the lease contract, including all residents who will sign the lease. It also requests the name of the apartment community, the specific unit number, and physical address of the dwelling. The owner or manager of the community is also listed in this section, as well as their address. The section also gives the address that written notices to the owner or manager should be sent. Paragraph 2, Occupants. This paragraph includes the names of all other occupants who will live in the dwelling. It specifies the number of days that guests may stay in the apartment without the prior written consent of the property owner. Paragraph 5, Keys and Furniture. The number of keys, including those to the dwelling and the mailbox, as well as the number of any applicable access devices, key cards for access gates, etc., are itemized in this section. This paragraph also indicates whether the dwelling is furnished or not. Paragraph 6, Rent and Charges. This paragraph includes the amount of rent you pay per month, where the rent payment should be made, the due date for your rent, initial and daily late charges for delinquent rental payments and return checks. Paragraph 7, Utilities. If the box by any of the utilities in this paragraph is checked, the property owner will cover the cost of that utility. You will pay for all other utilities, including deposits and charges or fees on those utilities. Paragraph 8, Insurance. The property owners will not cover your personal belongings. You are strongly encouraged to consider purchasing renter's insurance to cover your personal property in the case of theft, fire, smoke, or water damage, etc. This paragraph also provides a checkbox as to whether or not you are required to purchase liability coverage. If no box is checked, you are not required to purchase coverage. Paragraph 9, Locks and Latches. This section informs you that locks will be rekeyed after the prior resident moves out. The rekeying will be done before you move in, or if the door has a keyless deadbolt, within 10 days of you moving in. You may also request deadbolt locks and other devices to be installed at your expense. Paragraph 12, Reimbursement. You'll be required to pay or reimburse the property owner for any damages caused by you, your spouse, occupants, or any guests. You'll also be liable for any charges incurred because of a violation of the lease or community rules, or property damage resulting from negligence, improper use, or other conduct by any of the parties mentioned above. You will also be liable for damage to doors, windows, or screens, as well as damage from doors or windows left open. Damage from wastewater stoppages caused by improper objects in lines exclusively serving your apartment will also be charged to you. Paragraph 19, Limitations on Conduct. Residents are responsible for keeping apartments clean, taking trash out at least once a week, and using exterior passageways only for entry or exit. All common areas must be used according to community rules and posted guidelines. This section also notes that the property owner may exclude from the community guests or others who are violating the law or any provision of the lease. You are required by this section to notify the owner if you or any occupants are convicted of a felony or a misdemeanor involving controlled substances, violence to another person, or destruction of property. And you also agree to notify the owner if you or any occupants register as a sex offender in any state. Paragraph 22, Release of Resident. You are not entitled to terminate the lease and move out early, except as outlined in the lease. This paragraph explains that school withdrawal or transfer, marriage, separation, divorce, loss of employment, or a job transfer, Bad health or death, among others, will not end your lease or your obligations under the lease. Paragraph 24, resident safety and property loss. This paragraph covers several important topics, including detection devices, loss, and crime or emergency. First, let's discuss detection devices. Smoke detection devices are provided for your protection and that of other residents. You agree to take care of and use these items and to make every effort to follow the security guidelines included in the lease on page 6. The property owner will furnish smoke detectors, test them, and be sure they have working batteries as of your move-in date. After you move in, it's your responsibility to replace batteries as needed and to immediately report any detection device problems to the management. Now let's talk about loss. This paragraph outlines your responsibilities during bad or freezing weather and emphasizes that the property owner is not liable for personal injury or loss of personal property because of natural forces, theft, or vandalism, except as required by law. This section includes information on crime and emergency. You should dial 911 immediately when any crime or emergency occurs, and then contact the property owner or manager. This paragraph outlines the property owner's responsibilities as they relate to security and your obligations to provide a report to law enforcement and a written report to the property manager in case of an incident. Paragraph 27, animals. No animals are allowed in the apartment or apartment community unless the property owner has provided written permission. If you have a pet, you'll have to sign an animal addendum and pay an animal deposit. If you violate the property's animal restrictions, you'll have to pay charges and damages, if applicable, and even be subject to eviction. The property owner can remove an unauthorized animal by following the specific steps outlined in the lease. Now that our general overview of the NAA FAA apartment lease contract is complete, you may still have specific questions for your leasing staff. Please be sure to discuss any additional questions you may have with them before signing your lease. There may also be details specific to your property that the leasing staff will go over with you. And remember that this summary of lease contract highlights does not take the place of you carefully reading your lease. Be sure that you read and understand the lease before signing. Well, that's a wrap. Thanks for walking through the lease with us, and enjoy your new place of residence.